The morning sun filtered through the hospital corridors as William sat in the sterile waiting room, his hands clasped tightly together. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, creating an almost hypnotic rhythm that matched his racing heartbeat. 3 hours had passed since Kate was rushed into surgery, and every minute felt like an eternity. The smell of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, mixing with the faint aroma of coffee from the nearby vending machine. William's mind wandered back to just 48 hours earlier, when everything seemed perfectly normal. Kate had been laughing at their kitchen table, sharing stories about their children's latest adventures at school. Her eyes sparkled with that familiar warmth that had captured his heart years ago. She complained about a mild headache, something so insignificant that neither of them thought twice about it. They had planned a quiet weekend together, perhaps a walk in their favorite park where they often escaped from the pressures of royal duties. The memory felt surreal now, like scenes from someone else's life. How quickly everything had changed when Kate collapsed in their bedroom that fateful morning. The sound of her body hitting the floor still echoed in William's ears, a sound that would probably haunt him forever. He had rushed to her side, calling her name repeatedly, but her eyes remained closed, her breathing shallow and labored. Dr. Harrison, the family physician, had arrived within minutes of William's frantic phone call. His usually calm demeanor couldn't hide the concern etched across his weathered face as he examined Kate. The ambulance ride to the hospital was a blur of sirens and medical equipment, with paramedics working tirelessly to stabilize her condition. William held her hand throughout the journey, whispering words of encouragement even though she couldn't hear them. Now, as he waited for any news about her condition, William found himself studying the faces of other families in the waiting room. An elderly man sat quietly reading a newspaper, occasionally glancing at the clock on the wall. A young woman paced back and forth near the windows, her phone pressed to her ear as she spoke in hushed, worried tones. Everyone here shared the same anxious energy, the same desperate hope for positive news about their loved ones. The hospital staff moved efficiently through the corridors, their soft-soled shoes creating a gentle shuffling sound against the polished floors. Nurses carried clipboards and spoke in measured tones, while doctors in white coats moved with purposeful determination. William watched them all, searching their faces for any hint about Kate's condition, but their professional expressions revealed nothing. His phone buzzed with messages from concerned friends and family members, but William couldn't bring himself to respond. How could he explain something he didn't understand himself? The preliminary tests had revealed something unexpected in Kate's brain scans, something that required immediate surgical intervention. The technical medical terms meant little to him, but the urgency in the surgeon's voice had conveyed everything he needed to know about the seriousness of the situation. As afternoon slowly turned to evening, William's reflection in the waiting room window showed a man transformed by worry and fear. His usually neat appearance had given way to disheveled hair and wrinkled clothes. The royal composure he had been trained to maintain since childhood seemed irrelevant in this sterile environment, where titles and status meant nothing. Here, he was simply a husband desperately hoping for his wife's recovery. The sounds of the hospital created their own unique symphony around him. Monitors beeped in distant rooms, elevators chimed as they opened and closed, and the occasional overhead page called for specific medical personnel. These sounds became the soundtrack to his vigil, a constant reminder of the medical battle being fought just beyond his reach. William's thoughts drifted to their children, safely staying with his brother for the evening. They had been told their mother wasn't feeling well and needed to see a special doctor. The innocent trust in their young eyes had been both comforting and heartbreaking. They didn't understand the gravity of the situation, and William hoped they wouldn't need to learn about such serious matters for many years to come. The waiting room gradually emptied as other families received news about their loved ones. Some departed with smiles and relief evident on their faces, while others left with the heavy burden of difficult news weighing on their shoulders. William remained, his vigil continuing as the clock on the wall marked each passing hour with methodical precision. When Dr. Peterson finally appeared in the doorway, still wearing his surgical scrubs, William's heart nearly stopped. The surgeon's expression was carefully neutral, revealing nothing about the outcome of the procedure. William stood slowly, his legs feeling unsteady after hours of sitting in the uncomfortable plastic chair. The moment he had been dreading and anticipating had finally arrived, and he prepared himself for whatever news awaited him about the woman who meant everything to him. Dr. Peterson's face showed the exhaustion of a surgeon who had spent 6 grueling hours fighting to save a life. His normally steady hands trembled slightly as he removed his surgical cap, running his fingers through gray hair dampened with perspiration. William searched the doctor's weathered features for any hint of the news that would either restore his world or shatter it completely. The silence between them stretched for what felt like hours, though only seconds passed on the waiting room clock. The surgery went as well as we could have hoped, Dr. Peterson began, his voice carefully measured and professional. We were able to remove the tumor completely, but Kate's condition remains critical. The next 72 hours will be crucial in determining her recovery. William felt his knees weaken with relief and terror simultaneously. The word tumor hit him like a physical blow. Even though he had suspected something serious from the medical team's urgent consultations throughout the day, the doctor explained the technical details of the procedure, but William struggled to process the medical terminology. Words like craniotomy and post-operative monitoring swirled around him like a foreign language. What he did understand was that Kate was alive, but her journey back to health would be long and uncertain. The tumor had been discovered just in time, before it could cause permanent damage to the surrounding brain tissue. Dr. Peterson led William through a maze of corridors to the intensive care unit, where Kate lay connected to various monitors and machines. The sight of her motionless form, surrounded by blinking lights and the steady rhythm of mechanical breathing assistance, nearly brought William to his knees. Her beautiful face, usually animated with laughter and warmth, appeared peaceful but alarmingly still. Bandages covered much of her head, and tubes seemed to emerge from everywhere. The ICU was a world unto itself, where time moved differently, and hope hung suspended between the beeping of monitors and the soft conversations of medical staff. William was given a chair beside Kate's bed, where he would spend the next 3 days and nights. The nurses, recognizing his unwavering dedication, quietly brought him cups of tea and small meals that mostly went untouched. His entire universe had contracted to the space around Kate's hospital bed. During those critical hours, William discovered a strength he never knew he possessed. He talked to Kate constantly, sharing memories of their courtship, their wedding day, and precious moments with their children. He described the weather outside her window, the flowers that friends had sent, and the overwhelming number of well wishes from people around the world. Whether she could hear him or not, he maintained a steady stream of conversation, as if his words alone could guide her back to consciousness. The medical team worked around the clock, adjusting medications and monitoring every vital sign with meticulous attention. Dr. Sarah Chen, the neurologist overseeing Kate's recovery, became a familiar presence in the room. Her calm expertise and honest communication provided William with anchors of hope during the darkest moments. She explained each change in Kate's condition, whether encouraging or concerning, with a directness that William appreciated. On the second night, Kate's temperature spiked dramatically, sending the medical team into urgent action. William was asked to step outside while they worked to stabilize her condition. He found himself alone in the hallway, pressing his back against the cool wall as fears he had been holding at bay crashed over him like a tide. For the first time since this ordeal began, he allowed himself to imagine a world without Kate's laughter, without her gentle guidance, without her steadfast presence beside him. The children called that evening, their innocent voices asking when Mommy would come home. William struggled to maintain composure while assuring them that the doctors were taking excellent care of her. His brother had done an admirable job keeping them occupied and relatively carefree, but William could hear the underlying worry in their young voices. They were too perceptive to be completely fooled by adult reassurances. By the third morning, subtle changes in Kate's responses gave the medical team reason for cautious optimism. Her brain activity showed signs of improvement, and some of the sedation was carefully reduced. William watched her face intently, searching for any sign of recognition or awareness. When Kate's eyelids fluttered slightly in response to his voice, William felt his heart soar with hope. The road to recovery would be long and challenging, but that tiny movement represented the first step on Kate's journey back to the world. William gently took her hand, careful not to disturb the IV lines, and whispered words of love and encouragement. The warmth of her skin beneath his fingers felt like the most precious gift imaginable. Dr. Chen cautioned that Kate's awakening would likely be gradual and that various cognitive and physical challenges might emerge as she regained consciousness. However, the initial signs suggested that the surgery had been successful in removing the threat without causing significant damage to her neurological functions. William clung to these positive indicators while preparing himself for whatever difficulties lay ahead in Kate's recovery process. The moment Kate's eyes opened for the first time was both miraculous and heartbreaking. William had been reading to her from their favorite novel when he noticed her eyelids moving more deliberately than before. When her brown eyes finally focused on his face, the confusion and fear he saw there nearly broke his heart. Kate tried to speak, but the breathing tube prevented any words from forming. Her eyes darted around the unfamiliar hospital room, taking in the medical equipment and sterile surroundings with growing panic. William immediately moved closer, his hand gently stroking her forehead while he spoke in the soothing tone he had used throughout her unconscious state. "You're safe, Kate. You're in the hospital, but you're going to be okay. I'm here with you." His voice carried all the love and reassurance he could muster, even as his own emotions threatened to overwhelm him. The medical team quickly gathered around her bed, their practiced efficiency a testament to their experience with patients awakening from such procedures. Dr. Chen carefully explained Kate's situation in simple terms, helping her understand why she couldn't speak and why various tubes and monitors surrounded her bed. The process of removing the breathing tube was delicate and required Kate's cooperation. When she was finally able to speak, her voice was barely a whisper, hoarse from the medical interventions. Her first word was William's name, spoken with such tenderness that tears immediately filled his eyes. The next few days brought a mixture of progress and setbacks that tested everyone's patience and resolve. Kate's memory showed gaps that troubled her deeply. She remembered their children, but struggled to recall recent events leading up to her hospitalization. Simple tasks like writing her name or following complex instructions proved challenging, frustrating her independent spirit. William watched helplessly, as the woman who had always been so articulate struggled to find words for basic concepts. Physical therapy began slowly with simple exercises designed to rebuild Kate's strength and coordination. The tumor's location had affected her balance and fine motor skills, making activities she had previously taken for granted now require concentrated effort. William attended every session, offering encouragement and celebrating each small victory with the enthusiasm of a proud parent watching a child's first steps. Kate's emotional journey proved even more difficult than her physical recovery. There were days when frustration overwhelmed her, leading to tears that she couldn't fully explain. The strong, confident woman who had gracefully handled royal duties and public appearances now struggled with feelings of inadequacy and fear. William learned to recognize the signs of her emotional storms and developed strategies to help her through the difficult moments. Their children's first visit to the hospital required careful preparation. William and the medical team worked together to ensure the environment would be as non-threatening as possible. When the young ones finally saw their mother, their natural resilience and acceptance proved healing for everyone involved. Kate's face lit up in ways that no medical intervention could achieve when her children climbed carefully onto her bed for gentle hugs. The media attention surrounding Kate's condition added another layer of complexity to their situation. While William appreciated the outpouring of support from around the world, he also felt the pressure of public scrutiny during such a private and vulnerable time. Hospital security worked diligently to maintain their privacy, but the awareness of external interest weighed heavily on both of them. Speech therapy sessions became a crucial part of Kate's daily routine. The therapist, a patient woman named Margaret, worked with Kate on exercises designed to rebuild her verbal abilities and cognitive functions. Some days showed remarkable progress, with Kate completing complex tasks with relative ease. Other days brought setbacks that left everyone feeling discouraged. But Margaret's experience taught her that recovery was rarely linear. William discovered reserves of patience he never knew he possessed, as he helped Kate relearn skills that had once been second nature to her. Reading together became a therapeutic activity that they both cherished. Kate would often fall asleep with her head on William's shoulder, while he continued reading aloud, his voice providing comfort and security in the uncertain landscape of recovery. The hospital room gradually transformed into a more personal space as friends and family brought meaningful items from home. Photographs of happy memories covered the windowsill, plants added life and color to the sterile environment, and Kate's favorite books created a small library on the bedside table. These familiar objects seemed to anchor Kate's sense of identity during moments when the medical setting felt overwhelming. Dr. Chen regularly updated them on Kate's progress, explaining that brain recovery could continue for months or even years after the initial trauma. While this extended timeline felt daunting, it also provided hope that Kate's current limitations might not be permanent. The possibility of continued improvement became a source of motivation for both of them as they faced each new day with determination and love. 3 weeks after the surgery, Kate was finally deemed stable enough to transition from the intensive care unit to a specialized rehabilitation ward. The move represented significant progress, but it also brought new challenges as Kate began confronting the full extent of her recovery journey. The rehabilitation wing felt less clinical than the ICU, with larger windows that allowed natural light to flood the rooms and corridors decorated with artwork that provided welcome relief from the stark medical environment. Kate's new room overlooked a garden where patients and families could spend time outdoors when weather permitted. William often caught her staring out the window with a wistful expression, longing for the freedom to simply walk among the flowers and feel grass beneath her feet. The simple pleasures they had, once taken for granted, now seemed like distant luxuries that required careful planning and medical approval. The rehabilitation team introduced a structured daily schedule that included physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and cognitive exercises. Kate approached each session with determination, though William could see the exhaustion that accumulated throughout the day. Her competitive nature, which had served her well in royal duties, now manifested in her recovery efforts. She pushed herself harder than the therapists recommended, sometimes to the point of overwhelming fatigue. Dr. Martinez, the rehabilitation specialist, became an important figure in their daily routine. His experience with brain injury recovery provided realistic expectations while maintaining optimism about Kate's potential for improvement. He explained that recovery would require Kate to essentially rewire her brain around the areas affected by the tumor and surgery. This neuroplasticity offered hope, but it also demanded patience and persistent effort. William learned to participate actively in Kate's therapy sessions when appropriate. The occupational therapist taught him techniques for helping Kate with daily activities at home, while the physical therapist showed him exercises they could practice together. These shared experiences strengthened their bond, even as they highlighted the changes in their relationship dynamics. William found himself naturally taking on a more protective role, something Kate both appreciated and occasionally resented. Kate's progress came in waves rather than steady advancement. Some days brought breakthrough moments where she successfully completed tasks that had seemed impossible just days before. Other days saw regression that discouraged everyone involved. William learned to celebrate the victories while helping Kate cope with the inevitable setbacks. His constant presence provided emotional stability during the most challenging periods. The children's regular visits became highlights that everyone in the rehabilitation ward looked forward to. Their innocent questions about Mommy's condition led to honest conversations about illness and recovery that helped the family grow closer. Kate's maternal instincts remained strong, and focusing on her children's needs often provided motivation during her most difficult therapy sessions. Sleep became another challenge in Kate's recovery process. The brain injury and medications affected her sleep patterns, leading to restless nights and daytime fatigue. William often found her awake at odd hours, staring at the ceiling or attempting to read despite her concentration difficulties. He developed a routine of staying with her during these wakeful periods, sometimes simply holding her hand in comfortable silence. Nutrition played a crucial role in supporting Kate's healing brain, and the hospital dietitian worked closely with them to develop meal plans that would optimize her recovery. Kate's appetite fluctuated wildly, sometimes disappearing entirely for days at a time. William learned to prepare small, appealing portions of her favorite foods, celebrating when she managed to finish an entire meal. The emotional aspects of Kate's recovery proved as challenging as the physical rehabilitation. Counseling sessions with a neuropsychologist helped her process the trauma of her experience and adjust to her current limitations. These conversations often brought tears as Kate grieved for abilities she had lost and worried about how her condition might affect their families. Future memory exercises became a daily activity that William eagerly participated in. They would look through photo albums together, with Kate working to recall details about family vacations and special occasions. Some memories returned with startling clarity, while others remained frustratingly elusive. William learned to fill in gaps without making Kate feel inadequate about her memory challenges. The medical team began discussing discharge planning, though Kate's return home would require extensive preparation. Their house would need modifications to ensure her safety, and a team of home health professionals would need to be coordinated. The prospect of leaving the hospital's protective environment filled both Kate and William with excitement and anxiety in equal measure. As Kate's 6th week in the hospital approached, her independence gradually increased. She could walk short distances with assistance and perform basic self-care tasks, though everything required more time and effort than before. William marveled at her persistence and courage, recognizing that the woman he had married possessed strength he was only now beginning to fully understand and appreciate. The day Kate was finally discharged from the hospital marked both a celebration and the beginning of a new chapter filled with uncertainty. William had spent weeks preparing their home for her return, installing safety railings in hallways and bathrooms, reorganizing furniture to create clear pathways, and converting the guest room on the main floor into a temporary bedroom to avoid stairs during her initial recovery period. The house that had once been simply their home now felt like a carefully planned rehabilitation center. Kate's first night back home was more challenging than either of them had anticipated. The familiar surroundings that should have provided comfort instead highlighted how much had changed. Simple activities like finding her way to the bathroom in the dark or reaching for items in kitchen cabinets reminded her constantly of her limitations. William found himself hovering anxiously, ready to help with every movement, until Kate gently asked for some space to attempt things independently. The home healthcare team that visited daily included a physical therapist, occupational therapist, and nurse who monitored Kate's medications and overall condition. Their presence provided professional support while allowing Kate to continue her recovery in the comfort of familiar surroundings. However, coordinating these appointments while managing Kate's energy levels and the children's schedules proved more complex than William had expected. Kate's relationship with their children evolved as she adjusted to her new limitations. She could no longer engage in the active play they had enjoyed together, and her fatigue meant that bedtime stories often ended with Kate falling asleep mid-sentence. The children adapted with remarkable resilience, finding new ways to connect with their mother through gentle activities like drawing pictures together or watching movies cuddled on the couch. Returning to any semblance of their previous public duties seemed impossible in the immediate future, and this reality weighed heavily on both Kate and William. The responsibilities they had shared as working royals now fell entirely on William's shoulders, while Kate focused on recovery. The media continued to respect their privacy request, but both understood that public curiosity about Kate's condition would eventually require some form of communication. Kate's cognitive therapy continued at home with exercises designed to improve her memory, concentration, and problem-solving abilities. Some days brought encouraging progress, with Kate successfully completing tasks that had been impossible weeks earlier. Other days saw her struggling with activities that seemed simple, but proved overwhelmingly difficult due to her brain injury. William learned to gauge her energy levels and adjust expectations accordingly. The isolation that came with Kate's condition affected their entire family dynamic. Friends who had once visited regularly weren't sure how to interact with Kate in her current state, leading to an unintentional but noticeable decrease in social contact. William found himself serving as a bridge between Kate and the outside world, filtering communications and visits to protect her from feeling overwhelmed while maintaining important connections. Kate's determination to regain her independence sometimes led to dangerous situations that terrified William. He would find her attempting to cook meals despite her coordination issues or trying to carry laundry upstairs against medical recommendations. These incidents forced difficult conversations about safety versus autonomy, with both struggling to find the right balance between protection and dignity. Sleep disturbances continued to plague Kate's recovery, With nightmares and insomnia becoming regular challenges, William often found himself awake at 3 in the morning, comforting Kate through anxiety attacks or simply sitting with her when sleep proved elusive. These quiet hours in the darkness became opportunities for intimate conversations about fears, hopes, and the uncertain future they faced together. Physical intimacy required careful navigation as Kate's body healed and her comfort levels fluctuated. The medications affected her mood and energy, while physical limitations made previously natural expressions of affection feel complicated and sometimes painful. William learned to read Kate's signals and needs with new sensitivity, understanding that love now required different expressions than it had before her illness. Kate's personality began showing signs of change that concerned everyone close to her. The confident, outgoing woman who had handled public appearances, with grace now experienced anxiety in social situations and struggled with decision-making that had once been effortless. Dr. Chen explained that personality changes following brain surgery were not uncommon and might be temporary, but the uncertainty added another layer of grief to their situation. Approximately 3 months after her surgery, Kate experienced what her medical team called a breakthrough period. Her speech became noticeably clearer, her memory showed significant improvement, and her physical coordination stabilized dramatically. This surge in progress filled everyone with hope and suggested that her brain had successfully established new neural pathways around the damaged areas. The breakthrough gave Kate confidence to set new goals for herself, including returning to some modified royal duties within the following year. While William supported her optimism, he also worried about the pressure she was placing on herself to return to a demanding schedule. Finding the balance between encouraging Kate's ambitions and protecting her health became his constant challenge as they navigated this new phase of recovery together. Nearly 8 months after Kate's life-changing surgery, their relationship had transformed into something deeper and more profound than either had thought possible. The crisis that could have destroyed their marriage instead revealed reserves of love and strength they never knew existed. William had discovered that being a caregiver meant more than providing physical assistance. It meant learning to love someone through their most vulnerable moments while maintaining hope for their shared future. Kate's recovery had progressed beyond everyone's most optimistic expectations. While she would never be exactly the same person she had been before the tumor, the woman who emerged from this ordeal possessed a quiet strength and wisdom that impressed everyone who knew her. Her speech had returned to near normal levels, though she occasionally struggled to find specific words under stress. Her memory had largely recovered, with only occasional gaps that served as reminders of their journey. The day Kate felt strong enough to make her first public appearance since the surgery arrived on a crisp autumn morning. The event was carefully chosen, a small charity gathering for children with disabilities where Kate could speak from the heart about overcoming challenges. William watched from the audience as his wife addressed the crowd with a grace that transcended her previous public speaking abilities. Her words carried weight born from personal experience with struggle and recovery. Kate's speech that day focused on the importance of patience, both with oneself and with loved ones facing difficulties. She spoke about learning to accept help without feeling diminished, and about finding strength in vulnerability. The audience listened with rapt attention, many wiping away tears as Kate shared insights gained through her own journey. William felt overwhelming pride watching the woman he loved transform personal pain into inspiration for others. Their children had grown remarkably mature throughout this experience, developing empathy and resilience that would serve them throughout their lives. They had learned that love sometimes means adjusting expectations and finding new ways to connect with people we care about. Kate's relationship with each child had deepened as they discovered shared strength in facing challenges together. The medical team that had supported Kate through her recovery became like extended family members who would remain part of their lives forever. Dr. Chen continued monitoring Kate's progress with quarterly checkups, always amazed by her patient's determination and positive attitude. The nursing staff who had witnessed their darkest hours now celebrated their triumph with genuine joy and professional satisfaction. Kate's return to royal duties occurred gradually, with William carefully monitoring her energy levels and stress responses. Public appearances were scheduled with longer recovery periods between them, and Kate learned to pace herself in ways she had never needed to consider before. The public welcomed her back with overwhelming support, appreciating her honesty about the challenges she had faced. The experience had taught both Kate and William that strength could be found in the most unexpected places. Kate's vulnerability during recovery had revealed an inner resilience that surprised everyone, including herself. William's dedication as her primary caregiver had unlocked depths of compassion and patience that enhanced every aspect of his character. Their marriage now operated on a foundation of shared experience with life's fragility and uncertainty. They had learned to communicate about fears and limitations without shame, and to celebrate small victories with the enthusiasm they once reserved for major achievements. The crisis that could have driven them apart instead created an unbreakable bond, forged through mutual dependence and unwavering commitment. On quiet evenings at home, Kate and William often reflected on how profoundly their perspective on life had changed. Material possessions and social obligations seemed less important now, while simple moments of connection and health felt precious beyond measure. They had learned to find joy in Kate's ability to remember a friend's name or walk upstairs without assistance, victories that others might consider insignificant. The final scene of their story took place on a peaceful Sunday morning in their garden, where Kate sat reading while William worked nearby planting flowers for the coming spring. Their children played on the lawn, their laughter floating through the air like music. Kate looked up from her book to watch William's gentle movements as he tended the soil, and their eyes met across the garden space. In that moment, no words were necessary between them. The look they shared contained everything they had been through together: the fear, the pain, the small victories, and the ultimate triumph of love over adversity. Kate's eyes filled with tears of gratitude for this ordinary moment that felt extraordinary after everything they had endured. William's answering smile conveyed his own overwhelming appreciation for her recovery and their renewed life together. As Kate rose from her chair and walked slowly but steadily toward William, she felt the sun warm her face and noticed the sweet scent of spring flowers beginning to bloom. When she reached him, she placed her hand gently on his shoulder, and he looked up at her with all the love and tenderness their journey had cultivated. Their embrace lasted for several minutes, a silent communication more powerful than any words they had ever spoken. In that embrace, they both understood that while their lives had been forever changed by her illness, they had also been immeasurably enriched by discovering the true depth of their love and commitment to each other.